A major event occurred in the late 50s in the state of San Luis Potosí, but due to the political interests of the cacicazgos of Gonzalo de los Santos, who was a member of the Partido Revolucionario Institucional, this episode of San Luis Potosí's past was eliminated from the Mexican history. This movement received the name of Navismo. It took the name from the movement's leader, Salvador Nava Martinez.
Was born on April 7, 1914. He was a doctor, politician, and an outstanding social Mexican leader. He took the place of town council of San Luis Potosí 2 times, where he did a relevant job in the leadership in his town and in Mexico. He studied elementary and high school in San Luis Potosí. Then, he graduated as surgeon in the medicine school in the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. Finally, he had a degree in ophthalmology in Hospital General de México. He worked like a doctor in Ferrocarriles Nacionales. Later, he came back to San Luis Potosí and worked in the Hospital Dr. Miguel Otero, Hospital Civil, and in the Central Ignacio Morones Prieto. And the last 2 years labored as a chief in the ophthalmology administration.
His goal in this movement was to try to eliminate what was called cacicazgos of Saturnino Cedillo and Gonzalo de los Santos. The main issue presented in this conflict was the fact that democracy was not being respected or carried through.
The most accurate date of the beginning of this movement is 1957. Nevertheless, there exists a lot of discrepancy towards the starting point of the movement, because of different sources like internet, books, and witnesses given different dates. This marked the phase of disorganization and unfairness, where many people disagreed with the politics of the Cacicago. According to the testimony and research about Gonzalo, we found out that this mandate and many other governments from that same party of that time were parallel to the government of Porfirio Diaz, who was considered a dictator.
They fought for a better regional autonomy, to democratize the electoral system. To achieve this, the Navistas started to publish protest articles in newspapers and magazines, and organized meetings. Then, they founded an organization called Unión Cívica Potosina. Because of these actions, the authoritarian government took extreme measures like assassinations and imprisonments.
The climax of this movement occurred during an evening in the capital of San Luis Potosí. The main leaders of the movement were gathered at a social meeting in the Café La Lonja, as usual. Then, a group of militaries entered the establishment, abruptly expelled them, and took them to the local prison in police cars called Julias. The waiters of the café notified the wives and relatives. When they arrived to the prison, they were beaten. For this investigation, we interviewed Maria Evangelina Penilla Hernandez, one of the descendants of Salvador Penilla, who told us, "My father and another man were in a prison cell when the guards pushed into the cell a man so he could beat them. But then they realized he was one of his fellows that was so injured that they couldn't recognize him."
While all this was occurring, another group of soldiers attacked the priest Rafael Montejano inside of his house. Their excuse for this was arousing the consciousness, development, and practice of democracy. The soldiers stole all of his belongings as well as they did with the belongings of his 2 sisters, Guadalupe Montejano and Concepcion Montejano, who lived with him. Then, both sisters were responsible of spreading the news to the city. All the men who were arrested were sent to the penitentiary of San Luis Potosí, except for Salvador Nava, who went to the penitentiary of Mexico City. The imprisonment lasted 8 days, but Nava lasted more than a month in prison. On the following days, the Navistas' wives visited them and brought them food, water, cigarettes, money, letters, and newspapers.
After this event, protests augmented, till the point that the government of President Adolfo López Mateos sent war tanks to San Luis, with the purpose of intimidating the society. This caused more discontent in the society. Later on, September 16th, Santos caused a shooting in the Zocol so he could blame the Navistas for being violent and arrest them. But on that day, There was no member of the Navismo movement in the place.
The graduate degree Salvador Penilla Lopez was a trial lawyer, minister, historian, professor, and activist of the Potosino Society. Highlighting in their field as a trial lawyer, he never lost a case. He was the one who was in charge of writing the articles that promoted liberty and democracy. He was fully involved in this movement. With his actions, the movement gained followers and strength. Also, he communicated to the rest of the country what was happening during this historical moment. The main objective to accomplish through communicating this vital part of San Luis Potosí history is to make people aware of this movement, which is unfortunately unknown.